Contrary to what corporate media actually tells us, the Trump regime is incredibly desperate, right? They need a win, right? They thought that they could break Canada and Mexico, and that is backfiring spectacularly, right? They thought that they could break Iran, but it looks like, as we said months ago on this channel, that Iran is too dug in, right? The Gulf states, they'd have to eventually come to Iran's table and break from U.S. leadership in the region. It looks like that's the direction that things are moving. The U.S. dollar is bleeding as the regime tries to prop up the Japanese yen, while at the same time, nations from all around the world right now are selling off US Treasuries, right? So the malevolent eye of Trump, more desperate day by day, shifts back to Europe. Now, the trade war against the EU has been absolutely intense. And although it was a bad deal for the EU, the Turnberry agreement allowed Trump's economic bully tactics to move on. Or so they thought. Brussels thought that they were safe behind a labyrinth of green tape and corporate reporting. Right? They didn't realize that the US wasn't looking for a way through the maze. Right? They were bringing a forensic sledgehammer to knock the whole regulatory house down. Now, a while back, both sides signed the Turnberry Agreement trade deal, putting a 15% cap on traditional tariffs. Now, with traditional tariff hikes legally capped by their own agreement, the carbon tax is the only thing stopping the US from flooding the EU domestic market to undercut local producers. So how does a regime that desperately needs a win force the EU to surrender, right, and allow the industrial sector to be completely hollowed out? Hello, Chinese transshipment in Eastern Europe. The siege of Europe has officially begun, and the weapon here isn't a tariff, right? It's a forensic trap. And the goal is for the EU to actually roll back the CBAM. Now, just a few days ago, the Navarro report labeled the entire EU a laundromat for China. And if you're a factory owner in the Ruhr Valley, right, your business just became guilty until proven innocent. Now turn on the financial news and watch the people talk about this right now. It's just a bunch of fork-tongued jackals. And their whole job is to just bore you to tears with regulatory jargon, because their goal is to have you think that this is just a bunch of communists in European suits politely arguing about environmental ethics. But you can't buy that for a second, because that's the theater, right? That's the news. We look for the news behind the news, and let's translate what's actually happening in plain English. Free trade is dead, right? We're living through an all-out economic shakedown, total economic war, and Washington's turned into a drowning man that's actively trying to pull its closest friends underwater just to keep its own head above the surface. Now, as we get closer to midterms in the United States, the propagandists are going to be out there looking for anything to call it a win, and that's exactly what this is. So they're going to do what they've been doing as the economy is collapsing, which is point to any bump in the stock market, any bump in the Dow, and tell Americans that the tough guy's back in town and that the Europeans are terrified. But the reality is really that they're filled with the kind of righteous anger that's really appropriate for what the United States has been putting them through. But for the casual American straggler, the people who only pay attention to the news 3 weeks before an election and claim to be experts, right? This kind of fluffed up event is great optics. They're going to look at it and say that it's great. It's fluffing the numbers at its absolute finest. If we look beyond the Wall Street facade here, what you actually see is just a corporate crook, right? Doing the only thing that he knows how to do. Strip mining our allies to juice the short-term numbers. And if this works, the shareholders, they're going to get their buybacks. The White House, they're going to get their midterm soundbite. But back in the real world, the deterioration of American life continues. Right? We aren't building a better foundation. We're just extorting our neighbors to pay for their rot in our own basement. And it's pathetic. If you actually have a good understanding of what's going on, the last thing that the United States is doing right now is projecting strength, especially economically when it comes to these trade deals. And that's why we need to look at the actual math here. Because when Brussels talks about their carbon border adjustment mechanism, CBAM, they like to frame it in that kind of warm, fuzzy platitude about saving the climate. But that essentially is nonsense, especially in this situation, because what it's about is raw survival. If you run a steel mill or aluminum plant in Europe, right, your government hits you with a massive domestic pollution fee. And that's why it costs a fortune to actually produce heavy industrial goods over there, because their internal laws demand it. Right? So Europe built a toll booth at the border. The basic rule is pretty simple. Right? If you want to ship steel or aluminum into Europe, from a country that doesn't charge those pollution fees. You have to pay a toll at the border so the local factories don't get absolutely wiped out. If Europe actually rolls over on this one and exempts American companies from paying that toll, the US industrial base gains a massive, immediate, and unfair advantage. American megacorporations will just flood the continent and hollow out the European industrial sector in its own backyard. And if you're watching this from the US, the thing is, you've seen this movie before, right? We've seen the rusted out hulls of Youngstown, Ohio, of Detroit, Michigan. But now Washington's trying to export that exact same kind of rot to Europe. If these carbon protections are actually rolled back, the factory worker in the Ruhr Valley, right, isn't just losing regulatory friction. They're losing overtime, their shift stability, and eventually, and more than likely, their job, because they're being undercut by a system that doesn't play by the same rules. Now, I know for a lot of people, this week is the first time you've ever heard the term transshipment, but what you need to understand is that Washington didn't actually invent this transshipment tactic out of thin air. Right? We saw the exact operational playbook play out with Chinese softwood lumber and kitchen cabinets routed through Vietnam. Right? China shipped in 95% finished goods to Vietnam, then slapped a Made in Vietnam sticker on it and sent them to the American ports to evade the anti-dumping rules. The U.S. Customs used the Enforce and Protect Act to hunt down those supply lines and hit them with massive retroactive penalties. And now the White House has taken that exact same weapon and pointed it directly at the European Union. On August 13th, Peter Navarro dropped a 25-page report titled The Great Transshipment Scam, officially slapping the EU with a Tier 1 designation for tariff evasion. Now wait, because it does get crazier. Washington isn't just copying the playbook that they used in Vietnam, they're upgrading it with AI-driven custom audits that local European logistics firms just are not prepared to fight. Now, if we zoom out and look past the politics here, the probability of transshipment actually occurring in Eastern Europe is higher than you would think, right? But that doesn't really even matter because Washington, they don't need proof. You see, in a sane legal system, if the government accuses you of a crime, they actually have to bring the evidence. But under modern US trade law, that rule is dead. Free trade is dead. By simply placing the EU on the Tier 1 transshipment risk list, Washington has handed down a bureaucratic death sentence. It means the US government can freeze your shipments indefinitely just because they suspect that you're hiding Chinese steel, right? And they're going to make you go bankrupt trying to prove otherwise. I want you to think about that, right? You're a factory owner in Poland, right? You've never even been to China. You don't even like Chinese food. But because a guy in Washington, D.C. has a suspicion, right, you now have to prove where every bolt in your tractor was actually forged. And if you can't, you're bankrupt. That isn't trade. Like I said, that's a siege. Now, I can already hear a lot of you typing away, especially the Europeans saying, you know, hey, but large man, we have other options. We have new deals with Canada, India, we have Mercosur, we have Asia. And if you want someone to just read the headlines to give you a dopamine hit, there are channels for that, but this is not what we do here, right? So listen to the reality of the logistics, please. Trade deals are great when the infrastructure is already built, right? The deep water ports are operational and the ships are actually moving. But many of the projects, many of the trade deals that have been made, right, they take 5, 10, 15 years to actually scale. You don't just pivot a continent's worth of industrial supply chains on a Tuesday because you're justifiably mad at the US. Right? The European Union is one of our largest trading partners. They're integrated into our literal DNA. And right now, Washington isn't looking to the horizon anymore. He's not looking at Iran. He's not looking at Canada. He's looking at Europe. The US is beating on the gates of a former ally because they need a win today. And they're trading away the US's long-term stability just to gain a headline for midterms. It's not strategy. Like I said, it's desperation. It's panic. And a panicked empire that's falling apart is very dangerous. So let's be real about who actually wins if Washington breaks the EU's green wall, which I don't think it will, because honestly, if it does happen, like I said, it's going to hollow out the domestic market. But it isn't the guy on the assembly line. If these regulations actually do get rolled back, the corporate shareholders are going to get a nice bump in their dividends because compliance is expensive, but it's going to absolutely gut factories all over Europe. People are going to lose their jobs. Families are going to lose their livelihoods. And if You work for one of these industrial companies in the United States, guess what? You get nothing. There's no benefit for you. And for those of you guys who are actually shrugging your shoulders at this saying just, oh, trade wars, remember this, right? Every time these new audits, these new tariffs are actually slapped down on these other countries, it's not being paid out of the CEO's bonus. No, it's being paid out of yours. Because market volatility is just a fancy way of saying that everything that you buy, right, from tractor parts in the Midwest to appliances in your kitchen, are getting more expensive. You're paying for their midterm election optics at the checkout counter. And that's what you need to remember. To my viewers in Europe, understand that you aren't being targeted because you're guilty. You're being targeted because you're a convenient prop for a political circus in Washington, right? They need a villain for the midterms. They conflate Europeans with communists at this point, right? They decided that your factories are it. That's the target now, right? That's the win. They don't care about your hours. They don't care about your job stability. You're just collateral damage in the mafia shakedown that's designed to make a failing state look strong for 30 seconds on the evening news. And this is what people in the United States really don't understand about the entire dynamics of our foreign policy, especially our trade policy at this point. This regime's entire mode of operation is inflicting pain on our allies. And I honestly believe that the one reason why they keep going back to Europe is because they did sign the Turnberry Agreement. What they're figuring is this. Iran isn't going to break. Canada's not going to break. Mexico's not going to break. In the eyes of Washington, Europe, they signed the paperwork, they bent the knee once, they're going to do it again. That's their thought. It's about inflicting pain, because to these people, inflicting pain is a victory, because that's the goal. Because the way that the American psyche works now, I'm willing to suffer, I'm willing to be in pain as long as they're in more pain than I am. And as long as they're in more pain than I am, everything's just fine. Food for thought as always. Take care.